Good evening, everyone. Welcome to JB Buddha Academy. Thank you to each and every one of you to be here with us today. Today, we welcome our friends not only from India, but different parts of locations that they're joined from US, UK, EMEA region, Asian subcontinent. Thank you so much for being with us here today. The JB Buddha Group Management is represented by Group Chairman, Mr. Atul Boda, Group Vice Chairman, Mr. Gautam Boda, Managing Director, Mr. Rohit Boda. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And I would like to call upon Mr. Gautam Boda to do the honors of welcoming our speakers for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aruna. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of JB Boda Group, I would like to thank you all for joining us today's webinar. I'm delighted to welcome our esteemed speakers, Mr. Tapan Singhal, Mr. Murli. Both have time and again displayed an amazing thought leadership in the industry. It's our privilege to have them here with us, and thank you, sirs, for honoring our invitation. Mr. Tapan Singhal is one of the founding members of Bajaj Allianz General Insurance Company Limited. He is the managing director and CEO of the company, which is proud to have over 7,000 customers in India with over 2,000 locations. He is also a social media influencer with close to 7 lakh followers on LinkedIn and being recognized as the top voice in India. Mr. Murli is veteran in the non-life insurance industry with over 35 years of experience in various capacities. He started his career with United India and went on to serve them for 18 years in various capacities, including underwriting, claims, business development, and reinsurance. Thereafter, Mr. Murli moved to the private sector and has served in Royal Sundaram and L&T General Insurance. He also has 2 years of experience in the TPA industry. He moved to client side in 2012 with the companies likes of Island Affairs, and now currently he is with RPG Group. Along with them, we have our colleague Chaitanya Basur to moderate the session. Once again, thank you very much, all of you, for joining us today. And over to you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gautam.
A very good evening to everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. And thank you, Tapan sir, and thank you, Murli sir. What we would like to hear from you today is currently what is happening in today's context and what is the resulting impact on tomorrow. So basically, the floor is open to you, gentlemen. Look forward to your views, and I will pop in with the questions as and when. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chaitanya, and thank you, Mr. Boda, for the nice welcome. Just a small correction, 7,000 is not the customer we have, otherwise we would not be where we are. We are close to about 12 crore customer now. I think that is where we stand currently. But before I begin on the thoughts that we asked for Chaitanya, I would request Murli if he has some few words to speak, and then we get into the topic that you have given us.
It's like Shikhar Dhawan asking Rohit Sharma to open the innings. Okay. So currently from the client side, the regular questions I keep getting from my group companies are: one, what happens to the business interruption losses due to COVID lockdown for the couple of months that production has been lost? That is a question that keeps coming up. Probably we did enough of cyber and other liability policies throughout the last 3-4 years. Now I think we have to move towards business interruption due to pandemics. That's one from the business side. The second one is from the individual employee health side. So the basic question again is COVID covered under our group policies, and what will be paid, how much it will cost? So thankfully in our group, we have about 3 cases till now. One went to the government hospital, so we didn't have any questions. The other one went without any problem. The third one is still suffering and there is nobody to take her to the hospital. So that is the other question that people come up with from the individual level. And there are also other questions which keep coming, like my car is stuck for not being used for 2 months. So what do I do? Do I renew my policy? Do I pay the same premium? So these are the questions that keep coming up in our conversations, both official and personal.
Good, Murli. So let me answer Chaitanya's question and let me answer your questions. I think between the two of you, you have asked everything. No, I think so. That is how it goes. But wonderful. Okay, let me start with Chaitanya's question of pre-COVID, current scenario, post-COVID, how the industry is looking at it. And then I come to Murli's 3 questions, one on pandemic cover, 4 industries, BI, second on health, and third on automobile. So I think these 3 questions. So I'll try and cover this before I move on to the next one. Now, if you look at the pre-COVID area, it was such an interesting time. People were talking of co-sharing, co-rides. People were talking of mobility, no insurance. How do you look at a scenario that people will be sharing spaces? People will be sharing ownership was, they said, is gone. The concept of ownership will not exist. And all this conversation happening, all the startups, all the money, all the billion-dollar industries were on co-sharing, co-riding. One day in COVID, the whole scenario changes. Nobody wants to now talk on co-sharing, co-riding. People are talking social distancing. They're talking ownership again. You look at the Vahan case. I think the automobile sale for the smaller cars and the two-wheeler sales really shot up. Nobody wants to risk moving on into a commercial or a public transport kind of scenario. The world changes. How interesting is the world? People were betting so heavily, and the future people were predicting is this one incident, the whole world changes. That is what life and all is about. So if I talk about, let's say, the industry, the insurance industry, if I talk about how, as Battalions, we looked at it and what learning we had. The first was when lockdown was happening in Italy and people were talking about Iran, we had a management team meeting and we were discussing, and my risk head said, okay, we may look for maybe a building may be shut down. And I said, no, if I look at how the world is reacting, my prediction is we'll have lockdown in India. At that time, you'll be surprised to hear today, people found it funny. In fact, and to be fair to them, it sounded funny. India, they said, no, we have such a warm weather and we are used and our immunity is very high. And I don't think we are looking at a lockdown. So we are trying to take it too extreme a step. And luckily, I think because of my the kind of time I spend in the company, people still listen if I sound ridiculous also. I said, no, we prepare for lockdown. We prepare for work from home. If it does not happen, it's fine. We'll check our BCP, how it works out. So we actually went into work from home before the lockdown was announced. And when the lockdown got announced, we were actually fully prepared for it. Now, what is the one lesson that we learned from this? The biggest lesson is today in an interconnected world, in a globalization scenario, which has got created in a way that everybody is so interlinked, that if something is happening in one corner of the world, be ready, it's coming to you. So if you are able to watch what's happening across the world, and luckily because of internet and all the social media, our access to information is very, very high. So unlike yesterday's time, when the information reached late, today you are into the information and you should keep a strong eye on what's happening in the world because it's going to come to you. Not only for businesses, but also for regulations. You look at how regulators are reacting across the world and you see our regulations, you'll see very closely it follows some regulation which has already happened. So that would give you insight and you will always be future ready for what is going to happen in business. Now that really helped us because if I look at the lockdown period, we have issued close to 21 lakh policies, lockdown period, and settled around 14 lakh claims, working from home completely. So I think the transition for us was very, very smooth. The second thing, and this was a big WhatsApp joke going on, who bought the digital transformation in the organization? Was it the CEO, CTO, or COVID? I think one of my ambitions was that as a company, we should completely move digital, completely paperless. And I had so many issues from my team. No, the regulator says that we have to send physical copies. No, it's not possible. Our agents will not adopt to it. No, there are people who are above a certain age, they will not adopt it. It is not possible. One evening, entire system shifted to the digital. Zero paper, complete shift. So if an organization is prepared and a situation arises, you'll be surprised to see how things move to the next phase compared to what it was before that. And that was a big, huge learning for us. And now I've been speaking to the regulator and suggestions that I'm trying to give to them also, that we should make regulations from the learnings of COVID. If customers have been serviced well, and you'll also be happy to know that our grievance ratio dropped by 90%. So as it is, we are among the lowest in the industry. So let's say if we had 100, it dropped to 10. So if customers are happy with the servicing, and if digital is the way forward, regulations enabling has to come, no, so it enables that. And we should not miss the learning we had from COVID. So this is the third part. Whatever learning in your businesses that you had in COVID, no, as a broker, as an agent, as a distributor, as a client, don't lose it. Because there have been huge learnings, and ensure that the continuity of things which are good should happen. So let's talk from a pure employee perspective. Work from home, no, is transformative. Initial shock was there, but now if I look at people, let's say if they've been working in Delhi or Mumbai, every day they have been traveling, let's say for 4 hours to office. Why would they want to waste 4 hours in a day of their active life just commuting? If they can deliver and are productive working from home, why would they not work for an organization which provides enabling environment for employees to have more personal time and deliver, no, from where it is? Having said that, I think the work from home culture also has to be built. Right now, there are no rules. So people are starting from 8 in the morning and they're going up to 12, 1, and it's crazy. It's work. People have to define the work from home norms. They have to define the protocol for work from home. I think those will develop. But tomorrow, why would you waste 4 hours traveling, no, when you can deliver from home? And why would you not work for organizations which enable you to do that? Let's look at sales. All my life, I've been a salesperson. To me, sales meant going, meeting people, talking, spending time, no, finding solutions, giving it to my customers, no. And for me, face-to-face was everything. I still travel about 15, no, before the COVID happened, I used to travel about 15, 17 days in a month. Because that I felt is the way sales will happen. Now, in a COVID era, who would like to come and see me, or where will I go to see people? If I say, tell Murli, I'm coming. Hi, guys, let's have lunch together. Murli said, Tapan, can we hold for some time? No, we can do a webinar, we can do a call. No, why do you want to come? Now, as a salesperson, the entire skill set we developed for so many years has no relevance. What are the new skill sets that as employees that we have to develop is very, very critical for us. Do we look at sales differently? How do we build a relationship? How do we provide solutions to customers? What is the new methodology of sales, of reaching out, of doing business? If you're not thinking about it, you're going to miss it. And then tomorrow we should not blame anybody that we lost a job because we did not reskill ourselves or upskill ourselves in these times. As I said, businesses of yesterday, which were so really fancy and people were like going crazy about it, will not exist tomorrow. Skill sets of yesterday, which were our strength, which was what we got our money for, and people said you're champion and you're superstars, those skill sets will not exist tomorrow. So think about it very, very seriously. Is your skill set relevant for tomorrow? If not relevant, what is it that you have to pick up? What is the new way of working you have to pick up? What is the new era that you're going to? It's a massive transformation time. In a massive transformation time, if you're not spending enough time on yourself doing it, you're really going to miss the next wave as it starts. That was one comment for the next wave as it moves. The digitalization part, the work from home part, the new sales skills, the new grievance management skill, the new operations, underwriting skill. The risks have changed completely. You heard what Murli said, the expectations on what the risk could be. How do we, as an organization, as an individual, as an industry, the new regulations which has to come through, the new ministerial requirements to come through, how do we put it together to be a complete transformed industry in the post-COVID era, and how do we benefit from this is what we should be thinking about and taking it forward at all levels. That is something which I want to talk about from the COVID part of it. Now coming to Murli's question on the pandemic cover, it's interesting. And this is actually for most of my customers at an individual level, at a corporate level. When we look at insurance, and let's look at right now, COVID is there. And you should be happy to know that insurance companies, most companies, and in fact, Brazilians, in our health policy, COVID is covered, pandemic is covered. Now, an average cost for COVID is about the claims that we are settling, and in the industry I look at, is about 2 lakhs to 2.5 lakhs. You have cases which goes up to 8 lakhs. Even government hospitals, there are cases which has gone up to 5 lakhs as a cover. Now, fundamentally, if COVID in the air and anybody and everybody can fall ill, people should be really crashing servers and trying to buy health insurance. That is how it should happen, because if I look at an average cost of, let's say, of For 5 lakh cover, how much? 7,000, 8,000 rupees. 10 years you pay, how much you pay? 7,000 rupees. 20 years, 1,40,000 rupees. Oh, and 20 years, once you fall ill and there's a major illness, 5 lakh is some issue. So in all mathematics, in all theories, it is so amazing to have a health insurance cover. Let's look at April data, the segment-wise data which has got released, and all of you and most of you have access to it. The growth for retail health in the general insurance industry, if I look at it, is minus, I think 2 or 3%. SAHI has grown at 7%. No, unbelievable, yeah. Servers should be crashing in a scenario like this. A lot of people are talking of uptake will happen, no, and health is the next big line of business. Yeah, that's good. But what do the numbers show? So look at the numbers on the retail health basis and be surprised. Now this is where the psyche comes into play, which I'm trying to talk about. As customers, be it individual or corporate customers, when we are finalizing insurance, we look at it as a cost. No, we don't look at it as a necessary planning for, let's say if I talk individuals, when I was younger, my mother would say, save for the rainy day, save for the rainy day. That save for the rainy day made ensure that for the first 3-4 years of my life, I had no fun. I was only serving for the rainy day. But all I had to do was buy a health policy, buy a PA cover, and maybe buy a small gadget or home insurance cover and tell my mother, the rainy day will come in this only, I'm covered. Let me spend my money, let me have fun. No? But I did not. I was saving for the rainy day. I just did not buy insurance at a personal level in the initial stage of my career. But look at corporates also, because all of us think it's an expense. And that time we're negotiating price. Pandemic cover was always available. Right now also, to answer the bully question, I'm ready to give to my commercial customers a pandemic insurance cover, but obviously not COVID, no, going forward. Today, if anybody wants it, please reach out, write a mail to me. We have a cover for you for the pandemic cover. And again, when I make a statement like this and it's available to everybody across, I'll be surprised to see if my server crashes in the request I receive for the pandemic cover. It's ready. I'm ready to give pandemic cover, not COVID, because when your house is in fire, you don't get a fire insurance cover for your house. No, but for any pandemic coming in the future, the server should crash. Will it crash? What is the best guess here? No. So this is where, when we look at risk, we don't see it the way it should be seen. Now, is it a phenomenon in India? No, it's a global phenomenon, and that's very interesting because as an insurer, my belief has always been that insurers are such amazing products, and the pricing is unbelievable, especially in India. The way the pricing is for products is unbelievable. People should be queuing to buy insurance, and here insurance is told to be a push product. Is it not very funny in a way it goes? And if you look at it, and I was trying to figure this out, I spoke to one of my psychologist friends, I mentioned this before, and he told me an interesting thing. The human brain is not wired to see risk. Otherwise, we'd be staying in caves. And this is precisely why people don't look at insurance as something which they spend just in a month, half an hour, in a year, 2-3 hours, no, looking at it. Now let's look at automobile. People are saying we did not move vehicles. Do we get a refund? I think it's more coming from the US market. So let me explain this in 2-3 parts so that we have a clarity on the automobile part of it. First and foremost, in India, the automobile combined ratio is about 118%, no? Which means that even for the zero loss for 2 months' time, you still have a loss-making portfolio for the industry. That is the first point. The second point which comes through is in the tariff, there's a provision for laid up vehicle. If you're not going to use your vehicle, you may please write to an insurer saying that I'll not be using my vehicle for 3 months' time. It's laid up in the garage. And there's a proper provision, no? Now, we have not exercised that provision. Maybe our insurer didn't inform us or we're not aware about it. But so that's why these webinars are there. You have this provision, please write to insurer, say my vehicle will be about 2-3 months, and you have it. But after the risk has passed, people who do not have a claim, if they get a refund, and those who have a claim, take the claim, no, it is anti-selection. But if we excise what is actually in the tariff of a laid-up vehicle provision, we actually have a perfectly nice solution which is there. Now, if I look at the other part in terms of how do we look at these risks, and that's why I said spending some time on insurance is very, very critical. You also have solutions now. I think in Sandbox, we have approval as on pay as you drive. which technically means that you can buy a number of kilometers for the year. So let us say you're not sure, I can't declare my vehicle as later because I may have to use it, I may have to go outside, there may be emergencies. Fair enough. So just buy a limited amount of kilometers for the journey that you want to take early on. So you don't have to really pay for the whole year. And if your kilometers fall short, you can take a top of cover whenever you want. No? That is how you should look at it. So in insurance industry, you have solutions for nearly everything. No? And I've been, all my life, I've been a general insurer. So for me, obviously, it's something which I'm very passionate about. And if you don't have it, you should look at it. Now, some question which Murli didn't ask, but I want to know, add on to that. Right now, your biggest risk is cyber. All of you, all payments, everything that you're doing is digital. Yeah, all purchases is digital. And cyber attacks across the world have gone up 1,000, 2,000% this time. No, you can search on the web and you see it. With such high attack of cyber happening, with such high risk, and you have individual cyber cover available for a lack of sum insured, you just cost 7 rupees a year. And that is the biggest risk which is there currently, no? Have we taken that cover? Have we taken the health insurance we're not covered? Have we taken at least that our health insurance should be covering up to 8 or 10 lakhs because it can go up to that much? Have we taken that? Pandemic cover is available. As clients, are we able to buy today? No, that is how we have to look at it. So, but thank you for your questions. No, I think it allowed me to cover the entire spectrum. So over to you, Murli.
Yeah, thanks for explaining in detail. Cyber is like HIV. People have got used to handling HIV now. HIV is not a scare like COVID. So cyber risk, I think people have got used to. So COVID risk is something new, so it catches people's attention very. Probably this will also pass once COVID subsides, and after a couple of years, people find a way to manage these things. So COVID also might pass, but from the insurance company side, you explain how tomorrow will look like. From the client side also, it's like we have also got used to working from home. In the sense, only essential people attend office, though all my projects have been revived. The second thing is, as you said, nobody expected things to be so smooth, in the sense working from home, claim settlement or policy issue based on soft copies of documents. So these things probably we needed a COVID to try out these things, and probably this will be the new.
Only let me add one thing here. It's interesting for you as a customer. See, you have defined limits for which surveys are required, no? So I had a customer claim in Goa, no, in which just by, and I asked him to upload a video. It was a commercial claim of the damaged property, and it was not very technical, so we could fairly assess what the loss would be. But the only reason why I could not pay him the money is because I had to follow the regulatory requirement of the survey limit. In fact, this is one of the suggestions I gave to the regulator. In today's time, only for high technicalities where you require a surveyor, the insurance company wants to pay, even without a survey, based on the trust and based on upload of videos by the customer, they should be allowed to pay, So those are the points. What I want to say is that this COVID is teaching us so many new things. The regulations has to change, and the way we serve customers change. So imagine a commercial claim. If the person uploads a video and we have been he's been my client for a long time, why can't I just transfer the money to his account? No, because it's visible and we have trust and we just do that. No, I think I'm trying to push to that kind of scenario. I hope it happens. It will really be good for the industry and for the customers across.
I think that is happening. We had a couple of claims during these COVID times. So the surveyor couldn't reach there. So he asked us to send him, show him a live video.
Yeah.
One of the employees entered the factory and took him through with the video. So probably that will be the basis for his assessment, because
and that has to be the norm, Murli, going forward as a customer, why should you not get a claim within 24 hours of the incident? Why should it take 3 months, 4 months for a claim to have, even a commercial?
Right.
See, retail claims is happening, but why not a commercial claim?
So we were also worried how a survey will happen. So that the solution was found out, meaning we did a videograph and the surveyor had a look at it. So hopefully with the relaxation in place, he may make his customary visit to comply with the regulations and issue a report.
Yeah.
Going forward, probably that customary visit may also be not needed.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but as a client, Murli, how are you guys looking at businesses? How do you see this year moving up? Do you think you look for expansion, employee retention, Now, what are the things? Because you are a large group of companies. So, what is the general feeling? It's very interesting to know that. No, should we as insurers see more projects coming up, or no? Should we be happy with what we have currently? From an insurance perspective.
No, I can talk from my group perspective. We have won a couple of tenders recently. You would have seen the public announcements.
Yeah.
And most of our projects have revived. So the only problem is getting the right number of labor because of all this labor movement across the country. Otherwise, these projects have been started, revived, and we have been winning tenders. So most of the public sector projects like the metros and have been allowed to work. So they were the first one to start. And all this social distancing and all, probably we will not be working on full steam, but at least some partial revival has happened. So it's too early days. These 2 months, everybody has suffered a loss. But once with the gradual opening of the lockdown, probably things may not be near normal anytime soon. It will take a couple of years. But for bigger corporates, I don't think the challenge is so big. In the sense, they can ride it out. It will impact the smaller ones who don't have cash reserve to survive over this period. And in fact, as you said, your claims settlement and your policy sales have not been affected. During this lockdown, our collections have improved so much that we have surpassed last year April collection this April. Though
amazing,
working from home, there was no personal meeting. So probably I was joking with my sales guy saying you would have threatened the client that you will visit them. So he paid you the
Now I know what works, Murli. I threaten you, I'll visit you. Yeah, so that is how.
I was telling them the best way to collect the money is tell them I'm coming to your office. They'll send you the money.
This is why I asked the question. I think all news that we see, all reports that we see, is all about doom, 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 or gloom, doom, gloom, doom. No, there's so many positives. Projects are happening, collections is happening. Insurance is happening, claims are getting settled, and self-claim assessment is happening. I think the modality is changing, and quite a few things are very exciting and are happening for the good. As I'll just give you an example. We had the self-assessment claim for motor where you can click pictures and upload in 10 minutes time, transfer money. You're pushing it and saying, why is the customer not adopting it? So good for the customer. And this era, it suddenly boomed up. So lot of adoption, lot of new things are happening, which is completely transforming. And as I always have said that a crisis leads so many beautiful opportunities. Are we seeing them? Are we trying to ensure that we take it to the next level? Or are we in the gloom doom scenario where we are in fact, one of my relatives had COVID, and after she got treated, when she came out, she said it was perfectly fine. I think nothing to be so worried about. It takes some time, and you have to take some care. And I think most of us know, and all of them who had COVID, they all recovered, and they all came back very happy. And when she gave that interview for the media, because the media was waiting for them to come out, it was so much of hope and so much of happiness. How people are overcoming and moving ahead. I think one important lesson from all this is that we have to have that kind of resilience, that kind of hope, that kind of excitement of a crisis to see how do we emerge stronger and better, while taking all the precautions. And all the, I think precautions is just 3 basically: social distancing, wearing a mask, and ensuring that we wash our hands, before we touch our face or go on. I think if we are doing it, things will be good. And I'm very happy to hear this. In a couple of years' time, I think the world would be different, but a much better world, a much more powerful and better businesses.
Like the saying goes, necessity is the mother of invention. So people find a way, right? Our accounts have been
my life has been this mother of invention only. But I got it thoughtfully.
So our accounts have been closed on time. There has been no let up. Like your accounts have been also closed on time. Board meetings are happening. So I think this 2 months of lockdown gave every one of us time to introspect and look at ways of moving rather than getting stuck.
So let me give one more insight. That is interesting. So when lockdown happened, people said that everybody's going to gain weight, and you had that Mona Lisa pictures coming through after lockdown. So when I visited office today, because for us the head office opened today for the first time, most of my staff had lost weight. So I asked them, what do you do? This is just ghar ka khana and doing the household work itself will show that. So they became healthier in just 2 months' time, and people are worried that they're going to gain weight. And And that I think would be true for most people across. I think, if people are going to manage this well, it's good. But one more thing we did, Murli, I do not know if you looked into it. When the lockdown happened, I told my head HR to ensure that all my employees should have access, anonymous access to psychologists and psychiatrists, because there'll be huge stress of uncertainty, there'll be huge stress of, but this was not something they were used to. So we got that done. And the only data which I asked from them is, and nothing else, is what percentage of people have approached them. It was surprising, 30% people approached them. So I think one more thing is very critical in these times is to keep in touch, to talk to each other, because a lot of fear, a lot of negative news, is also playing on people's minds. So one of my advice would be, based on what I've seen, is that for all of us, we actually sometimes sit and think that, are we getting too scared, too afraid? Is this playing on our mind? If it is so, talk to somebody. Just reach out to somebody, write to people, communicate. Don't stop communication. I think it's difficult times, and it is something in which we have to learn how to cope with our own anxieties, our own fear. But the best solution is if you speak to people and you talk about it. I think it gets better. But don't sweep it under the carpet if you are not feeling comfortable with yourself, not your usual self. That is what I would say. Because when I saw the statistic, I was surprised. 1/3 of my people actually caught up. So they would have been facing some stress because of these changes which are happening.
There was a meme, supposed to be a notice from the Psychiatrists Association.
Yeah.
It said that it is normal to talk to walls, plants, and furniture during lockdown. Don't worry, only if the walls and furniture talk back, please approach.
I would say, Murli, don't wait for that time. You're not feeling comfortable to talk to somebody. But that was a good one. Yeah. Chaitanya, you want to ask us some questions?
Yeah, there's a question for Murli, sir.
Yeah.
What is the difference that, as an insurance broker, an insurance person, salesperson would find in terms of a change in the buyer behavior from your point of view, retail as well as corporate? If you could please.
No, earlier, like I used to get a hive with the number of visitors coming to me. Right. So all the brokers, all the insurance companies coming, and you are the, what do you call, person of utmost importance to all of them. Now we have realized that that is all not required. Most of the meetings have happened over a phone call. Some of the meetings have not happened at all. There was no necessity for that. Okay. So secondly, I think the communication skills will also improve, because there is no one-on-one face-to-face communication now. So you have to either correspond over mail or explain things over phone. I think that is a skill that people will develop, both from my side and your side. And as a client, I think our times are more productive now, since we do what is essential. So most of these bells and whistles have been dropped. And the next thing is, people are looking at premium outgo very minutely. One was the IIB rates implementation. Second is the overall cash crunch now everybody is seeing. Even in my company, earlier the senior VP used to approve payments. Now even if it is a 1 rupee payment, it goes to the CFO. So people are conserving cash, say, for the rainy day.
So your thoughts, Tapan sir, from the point of view of a retail customer, see the scenario changing, the buyer behavior?
Okay. I think if you look at insurance, now my belief has been that it's retail insurance, it's a conversational sale. Products of insurance industries are amazing. And a lot of industries have done a lot of digital improvements. So I think the service parameter also has reached to the next level. The issue is there has to be a conversation. So let's say if I speak to you for 5 minutes, I don't know why you should have a cyber cover, I guarantee you'll buy it. It is just that nobody spoke to you. I think, and unfortunately, because people are not wired to see risk, you don't get in the morning super excited, today I'm going to buy insurance. It doesn't happen like that. So insurance is a conversational sale. That is one thing we should be very, very clear about. The way conversation happened in the past and the way they'll happen in today's time and tomorrow is going to change. You heard what Murli said. And now I know what Murli is hinting at. I have just called him and said, Murli, give me business, otherwise I'm coming to your door. Yeah. So he will send business. The issue is now people don't want to meet. So conversations which were so normal yesterday, where people met and had a conversation, is not going to happen. But the same requires conversation to happen. So how do you converse comfortably with your customers without meeting them in physical presence or face-to-face is the new skill set. And the customer gets that comfort, that yes, he or she is being given the right advice. And that is what they should be looking for. And then how do you convert the sale in a pure touchless methodology? Like how do you send a link, the customer buys it, and he gets his policy on email or on WhatsApp. So those are the new skill sets which has to come. So that is how things will move. But I don't see that insurance selling will get hampered. We've already seen that this conversation skills is happening. We're also recruiting agents, completely digital, complete touchless. All that is going forward. I think the only thing is that earlier in a conversation you had enough time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Now, let's say in a short time, what is the value and what is the right advice for the customer? How can you, put it forward? So that is what is required. Now, how using less words, you become more effective. How now which your customer gets interested in, and then how do you close the sale completely paperless and touchless is what end-to-end one has to start learning and practicing. That's how things will change.
We've seen claims getting settled in a cashless manner. I mean, how do you see the paperless thing happening as far as insurance claim settlements is concerned, be it health, motor, or of businesses?
It's actually pretty simple. I think we were among the first to start it. We started 4 to 5 years back when we said that the customer can, when an accident happens, get down, click pictures, and our app would guide the customer and upload pictures of documents also, and we actually transfer money to the account within 20 minutes of the incident. Now it has improved to about 10 to 12 minutes time. So because if you look at, as an insurance company, we had immense amount of data of claims which has happened, because as I mentioned to you, we have close to about 12 to 14 crore customer, and if you look at a motor claim, every fourth customer would have a claim, or the fifth customer would have a claim. So over years, we have accumulated huge amount of data of claims. Now the pictures get uploaded. You have to use artificial intelligence, machine learning, data match, and assessment gets thrown out. We still have a person because I think as the machine gets better and better, maybe a day will come. The person looks at it and the assessment is right. He offers it to the customer. The customer says okay, and we close the claim completely. For health also we have this provision where you can click pictures, upload. For reimbursement claim, cashless claim obviously is fine, and we transfer money within 20 minutes to his account. So now it's not difficult. I think when it started a bit difficult, the quality of picture was a bit low, but today if you look at the camera pixels and all, it's so beautiful. It goes well. Fraud can be an issue. That is what people start speaking. But unfortunately, because of the worry of fraud, insurance industry has made the process of settlement of claim miserable. And that's what I said is the most anti-consumer methodology of how you settle a claim. Because when a claim is lost, the industry starts with thinking the customer is a fraud, and they eliminate all that before they pay the claim. I think that is how the process of claim payment happens. Times have changed. Today you have enough data, you have enough algorithms, you have fraud mechanisms where you can actually look at paying claims at a hyper speed while the machine in the background starts checking for frauds, and that is where a lot of companies are moving towards. So it's a very positive change. I feel that the experience of claims, like I was telling Murli that we are ready to pay claims on a upload by a customer, and Murli said that yes, he's given it to the surveyor, in terms of how he has put up the video. How times are changing. The assessment of claims and payment should happen at a hyper speed, and most companies have the competence and capability to get there. So I think this is the time for this transformation to happen, Chaitanya. I think people have to ask for paperless. They have to demand claims. If a large claim, then on account payment is in 24 hours. All that will start coming into, and industry will move towards that, and the experience of claims will get better over time.
So obviously you foresee a lot of role for artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analytics, and the works.
These are fancy words. So let me, again, AI is obviously, let me just put it simply, like what is machine learning? I have data in the past, I have a new data coming in. We try to match it, the machine sees the matching and start picking up because it's as simple as that. So we should not get afraid of using what AI is. AI is not God. It is simply that you train the machine. based on how you have been working, and the machine keeps on picking it up and starts obviously, throwing results. So those things I think is happening, and quite a few companies like us are on the forefront of it, and will obviously keep on moving forward. That is how the claim experience for the customer will keep on getting better over time.
Do you foresee a situation of moral hazards being on the rise given the post-COVID era?
I remember once I had filed a product in which I was covering mobile. Now nearly every company does that way back in home insurance. So people told me we'll get sold out because everyone will drop a mobile and we were giving like the full value, and they'll go in for a new mobile. So this product is dangerous. There'll be huge moral hazard. So I said, okay, that is the way we have always thought. So let's experiment. Luckily, I'm one of the most profitable insurers in the market, so I have enough money. So if I lose some money also, one experiment on the trust and the goodness of people, I'm ready to lose money. So first year, my claim ratio actually crossed 90%. And my people said, now Tapan, you got it wrong. Huh? We said so. But then the claim ratio came out to 60%. I think the issue is that we start with distrust. We start with the feeling that no moral hazard will go up. And then the entire process mechanism we make on that, and it becomes so cumbersome for all the customers. Yes, there are moral hazard issues. There will be fraud issues coming in. And we have to be smart enough to figure it out how it moves before it blooms out. But because of this, maybe 3 to 5%, let's say worst case, 10% people who would commit fraud, 90% are suffering. But that's a huge number, I'm saying, much lower than that. So as an industry, we will think about how do we, make process systems there. But if fraud happens, be ruthless about it. We ensure that we lodge an FIR. We ensure that we get the person arrested if they try to commit fraud. But we don't try to ensure that because of some fraudsters or some morals are moving up, we try to make experience bad for all the customers. I think that is the journey that we are taking, and that is the right journey, is my belief.
Barring health, which are the other lines of businesses that you see new products evolving as far as the insurance industry is concerned?
You already had a liability seminar, so I don't want to speak about it. But my personal belief is now, if you look at the liability as a line of business will move up. Cyber will also move very aggressively at a personal line and also at a commercial line. Because if I look at the data of the cyber attacks happening and the way it's rising, sooner or later somebody we know will have an attack. And that is, if you look at health insurance also, initially it didn't pick up. And you will start seeing the cost of hospitalization, and they start seeing with people whom they knew, then the awareness for health started moving up, and that is where you start having high double-digit growth in health. So if you have cyber also, my belief is people start seeing this happen now. Right now, the incidences were low, so people were not seeing the value of it. But I think if we start seeing it happening, because the incidences are going to move up, it's already moving up, and then they'll start seeing it happening with somebody whom they know. So my belief is cyber insurance will move up, liability insurance will move up. They will also be they'll have the high digit growth now, because the era of tomorrow will be hugely digital, and obviously the risk when you're hugely digital is cyber. Chaitanya is still very young to me. I think Murli can remember this. When we started working for our salary, we had to go to the bank. We used to go to the bank and withdraw cash. There's nothing like credit card. That also came in later. You guys will find it so funny. And I'll tell you a story on credit card also when I took the first credit card. And we used to take cash and then we used to go home. And the biggest risk for us was pickpocketing. In my entire life, I had to pickpocketing myself. My pocket got picked twice. Today, do any one of you fear pickpocketing? I think it's not. That is moved to phishing. It has moved to cyber attacks. On the credit card, the funny story was when the first time I got a credit card, they gave me a booklet of where this card will be can be used. So I took my close friends out for a dinner, very happy that now I have a credit card. I'll show off that I have a credit card now after the bill comes. And when the check came in, I gave the person my credit card, and he asked me, "What is this?" I said, "No, it's a credit card, so you use this for payment." He was very confused. "नहीं वो cash दे दीजिए." I said, "नहीं, but booklet में लिखा है कि credit card है, I can pay." Obviously, I didn't have cash. I was super excited that this is going to work. And then he went to his manager. And then he came back and said the 10% discount. He thought it was a discount card. That is how credit card started. People had no clue what credit card was. I think, and I'm not as old as you may think. So in such a short time, how much the world has changed. That people had no clue about credit card. Cash was there. Pickpocketing was a risk. today cyber is a big risk. No, I think that is why those lines of business will really move up very fast, I think.
Given that there are a lot of mergers and acquisitions happening within the industry on the insurance company side as well as the broking side, how do you see that evolve?
So I think I'll talk more on the industry context. I think that is something very industry. So let's look at why is merger and acquisition happening. After free pricing, the industry went reckless. No, a combined ratio industry for so many years now, 2000 over 12, 13 years has been over 115 to 120% now. The industry, no, unsustainable. I remember when free pricing happened, one of the CMDs of who was very close to me, his press statement was that our time has come now. And I actually called him and said, sir, don't make the statement. No, this destroys the industry. I think so. Over time, the industry has lost a lot of money. Now, they are in the industry, there are good companies who have not. So let's say we look at Bajaj Allianz, our entire capital was 257 crores, if I remember right. No, and from 2005, you've taken no capital. Our solvency today is still 254%. No. And if you look at our premium figures, this year we have grown at 15.6%, while the industry grew 9%, and we are close to what 12,000, plus crore premium. No, so there are good companies which did not require capital, and they did business sensibly, and they were able to serve customers well. And there were reckless companies who actually burned off capital. So nothing to do with COVID as such. We look at before COVID itself. No, and you have already these rumors of all these companies on sale and stressed under capital requirement currently. So GI industry as such is not a very capital intensive industry. That's the point I wanted to prove. And as if you look at a number vis-a-vis the premium we do to the capital that we have put in the company, it clearly demonstrates that with low capital also you can run a very successful business. And current solvency is at 254%. So you have enough margin even now. No? So, and 2005 is the last time we had a capital infusion. 15 years, no capital infusion. No? So, this business, if you run sensibly, low capital, can give good results. You are reckless and you believe that discounting and throwing money would get you market share, and you can sustain that market share like an FMCG kind of scenario, and tomorrow, get money from customers to make profit. This trick doesn't work here. This is a technical business. No, you understand the business. You have to be sensible to serve your customers well, to be obsessed about your customers, deliver well to the customer and to your people. Then this business works very well. So the merger and acquisition you see today is mostly because recklessness. And I hope that with all this happening, the recklessness industry comes down, because that affects customer service. I've seen companies, and there's a clear correlation. You look at IDA website, companies which don't make profit, and the grievance ratio. You'll see a direct correlation about the grievance ratio vis-a-vis the profit. So companies make profit and the grievance ratio is one of the lowest, which clearly shows that the business is run sensibly. They serve the customers also well, and that's good for the industry. So this should, I hope, for so many years it has not taught the industry. I hope this crisis teaches the industry to run business well and serve the customer well. That's the way I see it. But this is not because of COVID. I think the stress was already there and still is there in the industry. The industry has to come to a reasonable limit that it can operate well.
My 2 cents is insurance and banking can never go into losses.
True.
I think you have to make an effort to make losses in these 2 industries.
Yeah. And I always say that to fail in all subjects also is an effort. Otherwise you'll pass this out.
Because you have so much of data and your analytics is like so robust. And if you do your business sensibly, as you said, both this insurance and banking, I don't think anybody can go into losses unless, as you said, recklessly do something.
Yeah.
And then you go
and for a long period of time. That is where Murli, it completely spoils it. But it's not good for the industry when you people go for selling off, or it creates a bad reputation. That's why I get a bit worried. It's more for the industry perspective, because if you look at our penetration in the Indian market, it's still very low. So a good, robust industry would ensure good coverage for the customers, would require protection in times of need, is what people have to look into. It is not about recklessness, it's not about cutting corners, it's not about short charging the customer in times of need. I think that is what we have to start working on, thinking about it. But I hope it does.
People tell me that as a client you are enjoying 99% discount so far. So we can't do that. So I used to tell them we never ask for 99% discount.
Exactly. No? If somebody comes and gives you something, why do you say no?
Right. It came out of competition. And when they talk about T minus 99, I said I neither understand T nor 99. You tell me the price.
Yeah. What is the risk?
Yes.
Very fair, Murli. Chaitanya is still around?
Yes, very much.
Okay.
I think Murli sir had a couple of other questions as well, which please feel free to ask.
Because we are at what, about 8-9 minutes left, no?
Yes.
So
yes, that's right.
Yeah, sure.
Me, I have exhausted all my questions. I think Tapan covered all those questions.
Yeah. See, the problem, Chaitanya, for Murli and me is we have been in industry for a long time. Without asking, I know what he's going to ask. And he also knows that without telling, what has to be told. That's what happens. So I'll give you one more story on this, Chaitanya, because for youngsters like you, it'd be interesting to know. As Allianz, we have about 13% stake in a club called Munich Bayern. And if you look at the World Cup and Germany won, 7 players in the World Cup team were from Munich Bayern. So when the coach was asked, like, how come you have so many players and how come they play so well? He said that most of my players have been together for a long time. So even before anybody speaks, just by the movement, the other person knows where the ball is going to come. So even a camera cannot catch what was that movement. It is at that level. So I think for most of us who have been in the industry for a long time, we have that kind of scenario. We don't say anything. We know what to be said and what has to be asked for. So that is how it goes. Any questions from the audience? Last 1 or 2 questions. We're very happy to take.
Picking up a couple of questions from the audience. One of the questions is, how do you see the occupancy of premises and the cessation of work, these two clauses coming into as far as claims are concerned, given the current context?
It's actually an interesting thing. You're talking the lockdown, the 30-day, yeah. So I think let's understand the risk first. I think a lot of people are more worried about the condition and should the right to insurance companies and the council putting up a notice. The reality is, if the industry is locked down for, let's say, over 30 days or 40 days, the risk goes up. So let's make it more simple. Let's simplify it further. Let's say you have a vehicle. Let's say you have a good motorcycle. Now, for 30 days, you're not driven the motorcycle. And suddenly one day you start trying to push it really aggressively to get it started and start moving it without taking the necessary precautions, of cleaning it, of ensuring that there is no dust particle or something. You will damage your motorcycle. Now that is where the risk is. And if you think that this is not right, look at what happened when the first day of lockdown opened. You had 3 or 4 major losses. The Vizag losses, people are aware. The boilers went off. It happened in Vizag. It happened in Kerala. There are 4 or 5 big losses which happened just immediately after lockdown. So fundamentally, why insurance companies put that condition is, and they're not charging extra money for giving extension. The condition is put simply because the risk moves up, because of lockdown happening. Now the idea is, when a customer is writing an insurance company, the insurance company and the customer can talk about, okay, this is the risk has moved up. Please do the necessary precautions. When you restart, this is what it was. I think that was the reason. So what we did as a company is, to all our commercial customers, we actually sent out an advisory. So when you're opening up, after lockdown, please be careful. Look into this issue. But the claim, if it happens, and the customer and the insurance, that is payable. That is not a worry which is there. But the fundamental idea is to understand why the condition was there in the first place. To explain to the customer that why this was there and what necessary precautions they will take. Otherwise, you'll have series of losses in which nobody wants a loss. And then the loss is not a profit-making machine for a customer. And then he or she also loses a lot of money, a lot of time, and the production goes, at a backseat. So that is what the condition actually meant, and that is what I think most of us should do as brokers and as an insurance company. Advise the customers that this is what they should look into before they start their factories again.
The concern from the client side was not because of unoccupancy or startup precautions. The shutdown happened so suddenly. Otherwise, usually shutdown also goes through a process. It's not shut down suddenly. It goes through a process. Here, the shutdown happened so suddenly, and when the insurers came up and said, we are not policy, please look at the policy clauses. So the customers were worried, in the sense, in times of distress, insurance companies are not helping us. Right? But I think the GI Council came up with a good decision. The first lot of from March 24th to May 3rd was like waived off.
No, but if you look at Murli, even in that, the customer rights to insurance company were giving extension. No, so the condition was that. So I think the way it got communicated was wrong. No, I think simply it was that please take precaution. That is the only word which should be communicated, and the customer should and is covered. No, I think that is how it has to be. But the entire mechanism of that communication went wrong from the industry. I think that is where this stress got created. Otherwise, simply an issue of that please take care before you start your factory. I think that is all one has to look into.
No, I've always been saying insurers all over the world have an image problem.
I fully agree with this. My mother was very unhappy with the insurance industry, So, and for a long time, I told people that I'm working for so and so company, and I'm the branch. They would again come back and talk of a live company and say, "Okay, you work for this." It really took a lot of time for people to understand what I do. So,
there was a time when I never used to exchange my cards with anybody. The moment I exchange my card, they will come with the story that my claim has not been settled, my friend's claim. So minor percentage of claims not being settled, I think take precedence over the 99% of the claims that get settled.
So I'll just tell you one small secret I do in such conversations. So let's say if the five of us are standing and one says, so I ask you just a minute, so did you take any claim before this? And any one of your claimers got settled, no? So I try to get the context positive first, then figure out why the claim not got settled. Irrespective of what company is it from. And if I feel there's a delay or something, I call up the CEO of the other company and say, please help this person out. Don't let them spoil the image in a party. We will tell people that industry is not paying claims. Industry is dying paying claims. Mergers are happening because people are not able to sustain. 118% combined ratio for the industry means the industry is paying claims beyond its means, no? And still it has this image. It's really very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I guess we've answered the questions which have been asked by our participants. So I would like to back to Aruna to request the way forward in terms of inviting our group chairman for the final. Aruna, over to you.
Thank you so much, Chaitanya. Thank you, Tapan sir. Thank you, Murli sir. I'm sure today's 1 hour is definitely not enough to listen to you guys. There has to be a dedicated half a day session to listen to your stories, your experiences, your guidance, the question and answers. The questions are still flowing. I know we have a time paucity and you have another webinar to catch up. So sincere apology to the audience where we will not be able to answer the questions today. But yes, we will answer all these questions through our JB Boda Academy platform or the email we'll send back. There are some questions which are very good. I'm sure Tapan sir will look into those questions later on and give the answers to us, and we'll come back to you with those questions. The questions specific to Murli sir, we'll give it to him to answer, and we'll come back to you with those questions and answers. I'll not take much of time to hold you guys. Thank you very much once again, and we are totally humbled. You really don't know the excitement and the butterfly moments that we are having right now. It's really very great. And I would like to invite our group chairman, Mr. Atul Boda, to convey the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Aruna. Good evening, Mr. Tapan Singhal and Mr. Murali. Thank you for joining us today on JB Boda platform today. I think your contribution, your experience and views post-COVID was very helpful in understanding the customer behavior, which will dramatically change. And possibly what we are looking at is more a non-accidental coverage where the inquiries will be coming and the insurance industry as a whole will be looking together with the reinsurance industry to support the changing requirement and demand from the Indian clients. Mr. Tapan Singhal mentioned about the rate crash post tariff scenario, and we generally say in very lighter way that before 2002 we were fighting for the freedom, and after 2007 we had freedom to fight, and that's where our industry actually went. But certainly we have all come to the senses. Brokers are also very much part of the entire community, and this has really resulted into a sort of painful situation for everyone in the industry. Let us learn that yes, something that has been happening unexpectedly, and the Amphan cyclone which has hit our eastern part of India is really something accumulating into the COVID-19 losses. but I think India is known for taking the challenges, meeting the changes, and finding out the solution in the best interest, maintaining the fundamental principles of insurance. So your inputs were very helpful, Mr. Tapan, Mr. Murali. We greatly value your time with us today evening. And thank you so much once again for having us and giving your thoughts to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Bodha. It was an honor and pleasure, being here, talking to all. Great to see my friend Murali and Gautam and everybody, Aruna, Chaitanya, and all of you have been listening. It's a sheer pleasure, talking to all of you. And I'll not say be in touch. This is social distancing time. So, but thank you very much.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So before we log off, Tapan sir and Murali sir, I wanted a closing comment. So Murali sir, first begin with you. You're a client, so always client comes first in our industry. So what is your closing comment?
It was always a pleasure interacting with industry colleagues. This is a good platform. I think it was not a structured question and answer or a one-way monologue. So that made the session very interesting. I'm not sure how many audience questions we were able to answer, but as you said, we are always available to answer any of these questions from the audience. And thanks for the efforts taken by the JB Boda team.
Thank you so much. One information for the audience. Mr. Murali is very passionate about teaching. Anybody would like to approach him for any concepts on insurance, please do so. Tapan sir, you are here in this industry for very, very, very long time. And you have been with Bajaj for a very long time. So what is your closing comment for today's evening?
So let me give you insight. I think I've been JB Boda as a business partner. I've been one of those early players, I would say, where we had business direct also and some reinsurance also. And I always found JB Boda to be one company which was very, very fair, very ethical, very fair, and did business the way it has to be done. The advice to the customer and the technical knowledge and all that was of very high excellence. I think over time, and that is how this relationship got built over time, because my respect for JB Boda as a broking firm has been very high for the way they conduct business, the way they look at customer, the way they look at market, the ethical practices that they have. And this precisely when Gautam requested me, I was very happy to be here and talk to everybody in the team in JB Boda, and obviously participants came from across the industry and the world. So to me, it was a sheer pleasure. And for me, insurance is my, how should I say, I'm very passionate about GI. I somehow believe that it's the best thing to be. If the clock is reversed, and again, I have given a choice wherever I would like to go, I'll say general insurance industry. I think we get paid to do good. It's an amazing industry to be in, and we have to really keep on working. And the point Murali said, where the customer should realize that, yes, how the industry really works to deliver in the promises and times of need. I think that is what we have to collectively work together. We'll get there. I think that is my belief. But for all you youngsters who are working in the insurance industry, feel very happy and blessed. Where else do you get paid to do good? Where else you get paid to do service to your customers and to people? Give the right advice. Be very happy. Every crisis is an opportunity. Look into that. Be super excited about the time, about the future. Because that's what life is about. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Don't be caught down. Life is good. Enjoy it. Be happy.
Thank you so much for this motivational word, sir. I'm sure you have already motivated most of us. And yes, you're right, sir. This one insurance industry is an industry where we all are happy to be connected. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Murali, sir. To the audience, thank you so much for being here. Stay with us. Stay tuned. Watch our webinar series. Do like us and do share our webinars. Thank you so much. Have a very good evening. Stay safe.
Thank you.